Hello everyone, and welcome to a cybersecurity strategy for the cyber defenders, an online webinar presented by IT Masters on behalf of Charles Sturt University. My name is Guy Coward, and I will be your MC. Our industry expert is Dr. Erdal Ozkaya, who I will introduce shortly. Before we begin, some housekeeping. This is a one-off webinar, so for our regular short course attendees, things will be slightly different. As usual, we will make a recording available as soon as possible for those who registered and but weren't able to attend. But we'll make a page for it on the IT Masters webpage, not the usual short course student platform, Moodle. As you can see and hear, we use Zoom for our webinars. We encourage the asking of questions and the use of chat during the webinar, and there are two ways to do so. We ask that you direct all questions to the Q&A section, where the IT Masters team will try to answer them or put them to Erdal, and that you use the chat to discuss the content of the webinar amongst yourselves. Often the chat can augment our presentations, as there are some very clever folks who attend. Just make sure, as I said earlier, make sure you send the chat to all panelists and attendees so everyone's in the loop. We'll have a Q&A session at the conclusion of the webinar, or if there's a particularly relevant question, I'll interrupt. For those who have never taken part in a short course or standalone webinar with us, IT Masters is a training organisation that exists as a partner to CSU, who we work with to create and deliver a number of their master's courses. We also market these courses on their behalf and think and hope that the best way to do that is to give some of it away free. Like tonight. If we do a good enough job, then students will be encouraged to enrol in the full masters if it suits them. But with that said, I believe our short form content stands up, on its own and is its own reward. We want you to learn some useful information from tonight, have some fun, and hopefully make some connections with your fellow students. The legendary Neil McCosh is around tonight to help answer questions and moderate the chat. No doubt many of you have heard from Neil before if you've been around the chaps for a while, so please say good day. But now it's time for our guest expert. I honestly have no idea which highlights to focus on when introducing Dr. Erdal Ozkaya, so I'll let him choose in a couple of slides' time. I am prepared to say that the famous Martin Hale is particularly fond of Erdal, as you will have seen from the promotional emails for this webinar. Erdal's a good friend of Charles Sturt University and alumni and IT Masters, I should say, and we're grateful for his time tonight. So could you please join me in welcoming him with chat claps?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thank you for the introduction, Guy, and I would like to welcome everybody who joined our webinar tonight for Australia, this afternoon here in Dubai. By the way, I'm joining from Dubai. And I know I can see some names from London. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And for the people that are going to watch this webinar later, hello, regardless of the time zone. I hope we're going to have a great session. You know the agenda. If you want, let's start. Okay, who am I? I'm an Australian cybersecurity researcher who's currently based in Dubai. And my current job is with Microsoft. I work as cybersecurity architect. As Martin stated, I help Microsoft customers in the region. I mean, when I say region, we are responsible of EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, to help them, even more secure. As you know by now, I have completed my master's through IT Masters, Charles Sturt University, then my doctorate. Besides that, I have written many books, which I'm going to give today a few of them away. Some of my books were translated to different languages, including Korean, Turkish, and I know at the moment some of my books getting translated to other languages as well. So here's the other freebie of tonight. If you tweet about this session and tag me and tag IT Masters on Twitter, the publisher promised to give 3 books away. So I know we have hundreds of people joining, hundreds of people already registered. So Don't forget to tag me and IT Masters and the book. Whoever tweets about the session, shares feedback, is going to be eligible to win the book. Okay, enough of freebies. Let's talk about the content. Oh, besides that, this is my contact details, my email address. I don't know if you noticed, it was Charles Sturt University. Yes, I'm still lecturing. I used to lecture a lot in the past with CSU IT Masters, but these days, being away from home, I told you I'm in Dubai, and being, you know, 1 day in Portugal, and 2 days later in South Africa. And as you can guess, there are two different continents. One is up, the other one is down in the world. And this means I travel a lot. As a reason, I had to take a short break of my teaching career, but I still love it. Anyway, the world. Being German born, grew up in Germany from Turkish parents, then moved to Australia many years ago. Lived in Australia around 15 years, then moved to Dubai 3.5 years ago for work purposes. I'm a world citizen, and as a world citizen, I can tell you that clearly, who travels a lot, that our world is changing. Cyber attacks. I mean, forget about 30 years ago. When I first moved from Germany to Australia 20 years ago, when I was talking about security, people look at me, what security? It's a virus, format the computer. There was, I don't remember, there was a word called cyber attack, cyber terrorist. But today, there is no day in the news that the news is not talking about cyber attacks. Again, if you remember, I know there are some, like, what happened to Toys R Us? What happened to Radio Shack? What happened to all this on-store business? There was a disruption. Again, you know, even though I'm away from home, the weather has changed a lot in Australia. Not just Australia, in the world. So people get surprised to get rain during middle of summer, or to be, they're not getting any more surprised when it's get extremely hot for a day during winter. The global economy. You know, the picture is from Hong Kong, but I am here in Dubai, and the global economy is tied like a domino to each other. And one little mistake can make a big domino effect. And if you remember 2008, the global economic crisis and the effects of 2008, you know, beside all of this, the user expectations. People want to be connected faster to the internet. They connect their fridges, their wash machines, their, you know, you name it, their smart devices to the internet. We want to be secure. We want to be connected. As a result, we are getting exposed. I'm pretty sure you see the business names at the back, which I'm not going to mention by one by one, but they were all hacked. And I'm pretty sure you heard about ex-FBI director James Comey's famous quote. There is two types of organization. One, they know they've been hacked. Two, they don't. So, in my opinion, cybersecurity is becoming #1 priority. Of course, you might say why. Of course, you might argue with me, but the more we get connected, the more we get digitalized, the more we cannot live without internet. Our identities, our money, ourselves can be replicated very easy. I mean, as Guy mentioned, the legendary Neil, for example. At the moment, I mean, if both of us come next to other, you will see clearly that he's much more handsome than me. But at the moment, if I hack somehow his email address, his username password for his email, and email you as Neil, most probably you are not going to detect the difference. I mean, at the moment, probably you notice my German, Turkish, Australian accent, a little bit with Arabic flavor, where Neil speaks perfect Aussie. You might you might get the differences, but when I send you that email, probably you're not gonna find out who am I. And can you imagine, I get access to your credit card, I get access to your passport, what I can do? The cyber attacks get evolving. I love this cartoon here. That beautiful castle, the soldiers, and there's a little boy with a computer where the guy says to the magistrate, "Hey, I'm afraid it's a cyber attack." When I look at this caricature of this cartoon, I think about how much the world has changed and how much we are connected to compared to 5 years ago. And this means our cyber defense mechanism changed majorly as well. But are we getting involved as fast as the hackers? Here's a quick highlight from 2018. There was a hacker attack every 40 seconds. So we are connected nearly for 15 minutes now. Just imagine how many attacks we had in that little time frame. The average cost of the data breach is expected to exceed more than 150 million US dollars. Since 2013, there is more than 15 million records stolen. There is no single day that a DDoS attack or a malware, or today, this morning, it was in the news, a huge company with 20,000 workstations unfortunately lost the battle for a ransomware. And I read it in the news that the CEO just joined. Today is the CEO's first day, and in his first day, he's dealing with a ransomware attack where hackers are asking for ransom to release the environment's computing power back. And when we look of what's happening, this is a beautiful website which I would like, if you don't know, breachlifeindex.com, where I got the figures. By the way, I said million, it's billion as you can see. Sorry, I forgot that 3 last digit. You can see beautiful data breach statistics, and unfortunately, we only keep it since 2013. So enough of the statistics. Let's talk about the cyber challenges. What are our cyber challenges? I mean, we have hundreds of people joined here, and being a proud Microsoft employee, being based on Gartner, being one of the strongest cybersecurity partners out there, I can tell we as Microsoft, or forget my Microsoft identity for a site, let me talk as an Australian cybersecurity researcher. Many vendors are trying to push secure products. I know that for Microsoft, we have a philosophy where we say security has to build in, not bolt in. But what about you? How well are you taking this? It's like, I always give this example. You get a beautiful sports car, which has a seat belt, which you don't use. I'm pretty sure if you're from Australia, you will know what I'm saying. You will still see today, 20 March 2019, billboard on the streets or electronic digital boards saying, please belt up. If not, it will cost you 3 points and a few $100. Even in 2019, we have to, the police, the Australian police force has to make this announcement. It's not different in Dubai. I see all the buckle up signs all the time. So what I'm trying to say, having a car with all the security features doesn't mean you as user, if you don't use them, you can blame the car manufacturer. An example, if you have an accident with your sports car and you fly out of the window because you didn't put the seatbelt on, can you blame the manufacturer? Unfortunately, this is what I see when I go to hacked organizations. First of all, oh, you, Microsoft, it's your fault. I'm like, okay, why? We had a ransomware attack, and this ransomware attack where through a vulnerability. I'm like, okay, yes, correct. We are humans. Like everybody else, we might do some mistakes, but as soon as we find out, we patch it. That's why we have regular software updates, and we are not the only one. Every software vendor does the same thing. If you remember the first ransomware attack or NotPetya, you know, when the code leaked from NSA, the National Security Institute of United States, and hackers used the benefits of this vulnerability to create ransomware attack, I mean, between the time that the vulnerability was, or the hacking tool was released, and the first ransomware, there was 2 whole months has passed. I mean, 2 whole months, two months has passed from the time frame. Not 2 hours, not 2 weeks, 2 months. And my question is usually, why did you not patch your computer? Here's the question: when did you patch last time your own computer? Because if you cannot secure your own computer, you cannot secure the people around you. So back to top 3 key cyber challenges. The first one is layer 8. I'm pretty sure you all know OSI Layer. I mean, when I was a student many years ago, I learned that OSI level had 7. OSI had 7 layers, but no, I am adding the 8th layer, which I call the human. Here's a beautiful cartoon again to explain you who will win. You have your data security. Let's assume I press a button and I get you to 2050. We get the latest and greatest technology from 2050, press the button back, and we are back in 2019. And on the other hand, we have our human error. Who will win? Of course, human error, right? Doesn't matter how much security you enforce. If it's not followed by your end users, you're going to always have issues. What is the second challenge which I see? The never-ending attacks, right? You as a security professional, or you as system administrator, or you as CEO, CFO, you name it, non-technical professional, you're getting exposed with all these attacks. Here's 5 common one. You receive an email, usually in a different language. It's encoded, and they ask you to, click to that or enable that macro to translate it to English. Or you get some funny file names which you cannot read unless you're Japanese, and you assume that link is safe. I know many of you are like, we have a few hundred people in the call. Many of you are laughing at me now. Come on, who's going to click on that? But as you can guess, there are still many people clicking on it. And as I said a few minutes ago, a very big firm, just last night, they had last night it was in the news. God knows when they were hacked before it hit the news. They had more than 20,000 computers hacked with a similar attack vector. They received an email. They've been asked to enable the macro, and they were victim of a social engineering attack. I wrote a huge book called Learn Social Engineering. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but you can definitely learn more about social engineering in that, or of course join the IT master courses later about this as well. At the same time, what the hackers do is they do a password spray attack, which means they somehow try to scan the organization and look if they use any common username passwords. And if they do, of course, they just pound on hack, you call it, the account, and they just, literally try to move to the next target. And based on facts, it takes a hacker 20 to 48 hours to escalate their privileges from a normal domain user to be the domain administrator through the pass the hash, for example. So how can you ensure your password is secure? A few minutes ago, I talked about my book, and you saw maybe Troy. I don't know if you know Troy Hunt. I'm a big fan of him. He's a great friend of me. proud Australian. Here's a beautiful website. I can assure it's secure. haveibeenpwned.com. You can put your email address there, and you can see if your email address has been, exposed before. And if it has, it means your password which is associated with the same email account has been exposed as well. Or you can click the password link there, and if you really want to, I'm trusting Troy Hunt, and I can assure you this is not a social engineering website, but if you don't want to put your password, no problem. Your public email address, put it in, click in the button, and let's see if your email account has been, your email address, which you might use to log into Yahoo or to Adobe or to Microsoft Hotmail, or you name it, might be hacked. You can subscribe and, with your email address, and once eBay has been hacked, and let's say this data has been shared in the dark web, then you will be able to get the notifications. So what can you do to see if you've been hacked or not? You can just use this beautiful website and learn on the spot that if you're getting hacked or not. 3, least privileges. Did you know that most of the attacks could be eliminated if you didn't have the rights that you don't need? Unfortunately, still, most of the domain and local administrators, they still use the same workstation to connect to their corporate devices, to their corporate data center, or to Microsoft Azure or Amazon Cloud, you name it. Of course, I prefer Microsoft Azure. Remember, I work for Microsoft. And they use the same workstation, maybe with a different username, but they connect also to websites. What happened is, when I'm going to give you another very big attack example, which happened here in the region. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to mention your names, but a domain administrator was social engineered to go to a website, and that website, of course, was hacked. The hacker was using ZAP, a vulnerability scanner, and found a vulnerability on that computer. Somehow, the hacker or hacking group, hackers, were able to extract the username passwords from the memory through jumping them to a file. And as a result, they were able to bring thousands and thousands of computers down. So if that user had a privileged access workstation, what we call, a dedicated workstation to connect only for key resources such as data center, and another workstation for day-to-day tasks, the attack vector was not going to be that big. Yes, maybe his day-to-day account was going to be compromised, and yes, maybe through this hack, some other workstations were going to be hacked, but not that corporate device, or not that privileged access workstation, which we call, which connects to critical access. And I couldn't decide which one is top 3, the least privilege or the software that we don't need. Every software that you don't need might open a hole if you don't patch it, if you don't know how to use it, if you don't take care of it. And I keep always asking this question to my students, to my customers, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to ask you now as well. Look, I'm pretty sure you don't do it anymore, but when you go to the internet, you can find so many cracked software. Let's say Windows 10. Instead of buying it from Microsoft, you might go to that underground website, you download that crack, and then you install that cracked Windows. Now, how much can you trust this computer to connect to your banking account? How much can you trust this, for example, Adobe Photoshop software to open your work email from the same computer? Probably not too much, right? You will not know what is running in your computer. As a result, you might get exposed to, to be a victim. When we look at cybercrime, it has a supply chain and a platform, which we call the dark web. When you go to the dark web, you can hire hackers. You can hire, ransomware solutions. You can pay for credit cards. You can pay $1 for a Facebook account with 15 friends. You can buy for $2,500 a commercial malware. For $50, you can get 500,000 emails to get spammed. All what you have to do is, or you can go to your Chrome or to your Firefox browser. You can download the Tor. From there, you can connect to the dark web, and from the dark web, maybe you can buy credit cards. You can buy verified PayPal accounts. You can buy some identity. You can enter Silk Road. Please be aware, some of these are, like entering Silk Road and making purchases from there. It's illegal, but I'm just giving those as example. Or you can go to WikiLeaks archives. You can buy 0 days. And you don't have to be the hacker these days to harm people. You just pay them. Dark web is, or dark internet, it's just one of the examples. And we wrote a book about this as well, where you can get later. It's not out yet, with Dr. Rafiqul Islam, who is also a researcher, and he works also at Charles University. I'm going to talk about that. So back to our cyber attack factors. When we look today at cyber attacks, this is the figures which cost, for example, financial services, the average cost for financial services, the average cost for education. You can see, of course, none of these numbers are 100% accurate, because not every organization they get hacked announce it. Yes, today we have GDPR. If you're in Europe, you have to announce it. But what about in Australia? What about if your company is based in Hong Kong? So even though this is not reflecting 100% the truth, there are so many companies which is not here. If you look at the figures, it's already in lots of millions US dollars. So what can we do to be protected against bad guys? Of course, we have to build a cybersecurity strategy. I'm pretty sure you know what cybersecurity is. You know what the strategy is. If you're playing Schach, or if you're playing basketball, football, soccer, you name it, or rugby, cricket, you build strategies to win the game, right? But what is a cybersecurity strategy? In few words, it's a plan for managing organizational security risk according to a defined risk tolerance for the organization to meet the business or organizational objectives and goals. Of course, you have to put it in a strategic framework, such as ISO 27001. Then you should know what is running in your environment. You should measure the maturity of your environment. How can you do that? Via assessing it, via identifying the key challenges. And then you have to build a future state vision, where you have to define your guidelines, your principles, where you want to be in the next 5 years, in 10 years maybe. Then, through the gap analysis that you do, you have to identify the gaps. You have to build a roadmap. And then you have to get everybody in the organization involved, engaged, to implement what you have found to build the strategy. What I see today in the field, many organizations, okay, sometimes the CEOs, they don't want to talk to us. You are just an IT guy, a security guy. I mean, this used to be more often 10, 12 years ago, but today, most of the smart CEOs, they know cybersecurity is their issue. If they don't take the necessary steps, they are the ones who's going to be explain to the board or to the shareholders why they couldn't protect the environment. Of course, the CEO is going to call the CIO, CEO, CTO, you know it, CISO, to ask what happened, how it happened. But at the end, the organization is going to face the problem as a whole one organization, not just the IT department. I see many amateur customers still today, they don't talk to each other within the organization. They don't get engaged. This is developers. I don't care. This is IT guys. I don't care. This is network. No, you have to work as one, like an army. You know, if you have an army who doesn't coordinate with the Air Force, let's say with the with all other part of the army, they will not be able to win any war. And that's why it's important to have a goal of cybersecurity. That the goal of cybersecurity should be not 100% security. Forget about that. Remember, OSI Layer 8. You should aim for security as possible, not as necessary, from security as possible to security as necessary. Again, you might build a honeypot where you want hackers to come in, learn how they try to go into your organization, and have a better defense mechanism. Or you might build a red team and blue team, where the red team is going to try to find the gaps, where the blue team is going to create defense strategies. Again, we have a book for that. You can read this later if you want to. But remember, I gave the army example. Sinchu, I'm pretty sure you heard about him. This guy lived 2,500 years ago, many years ago, before Jesus Christ. And he said, to win a war, you have to know yourself. You have to know the enemy, and you have to know the attacking background. Doesn't matter how much you know yourself. If you don't know the enemy, you're still gonna lose the war. Doesn't matter how good you know the enemy. If you don't know yourself, you're still gonna lose the war. Regardless how much you know about the enemy and about yourself, if you don't know where you're fighting, you're gonna lose the war. So you should build a strategy. Strategy without tactic is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. And I put all this together because I believe, today, it's not I believe anymore. Nations, there is a nation state attacks. Like if I told you 20 years ago that a government is going to hack an organization, probably you would laugh at me. And we all know that a government hacked a corporation because of a movie. Remember that movie, which was, I don't want to mention names here. At the end, I represent Microsoft as well as the university, but a government hacked in a big organization that I'm pretty sure you use it all at home or use the services for a movie, which wasn't that popular. Anyway, back to the topic. As we're transforming from non-digital state to be digital, we have lots of challenges. One of the biggest challenges, of course, are people. New business model means our staff, our people has to learn new ways. Our customers, our employees, our partners, they have to know, they have to, they have to need to contribute to a safe and secure environment. And they should be able to work from anywhere. Here we go. At the moment, I'm in Dubai, and I'm lecturing probably the people from, most of you are from Australia, but I know this is a global webinar, and I can see people from different organizations, from different countries as well. New technologies. New technologies means new challenges, new risks. Threats, as I said a few minutes ago, they're increasing. The frequency is more and more every day, every second, and the impact is getting bigger and bigger, which means transformation are happening all around us, and they are disturbing cybersecurity. When we look at the cyber dependency, the risk is rising, and based on Gartner again, you will see that the impact. Look at this: extreme weather events is still there, natural events is still there, but you see cyber attacks in right up corner. Number one, extreme weather events. Remember, that's how my slide started. Natural disasters, climate change, water crisis, cyber attacks. So the rise of cyber dependency is increasing as we're getting more and more connected. Look at this, the critical information infrastructure breakdown, data and fraud or theft. Look, there are so many organizations today. Like, can you imagine, like, you all remember James Bond movies, right? 007, where, let's say, MIT, Britain, it's a British movie. They had to train agents. They had to be good. They had to be, like in the movie, handsome, and they had to be multi-skilled, multi-talented. And they used to go and basically try to collect information, which we still have today. I mean, every organization, every country, it's not secret, has a secret, secret agency. MIT, Mossad, KGB, CIA, FBI, you name it, you name it. But today, I mean, why should I have, why should I send troops to country A while I can just hack them and find out what they're doing? That's why there is cyber armies today, where basically they're trying to attack or defend, depends on which side you are, and defend their countries or attack the countries in the cyberspace. I'm pretty sure you all heard about Stuxnet. Remember Stuxnet? Stuxnet, basically, it was a critical, it was a nuclear power plant, which was close to the world. How did the attack happen? I think it was 2010. It was the first classified ATP attack, advanced threat attacks. A USB key was dropped to the car park. Employees found that USB keys, they plugged it to their computers, and as a result, that nuclear plant was, slowed down for 5 years by 60–70%. Look, I really don't care where that nuclear plant was. The lesson which I'm trying to teach you here is that doesn't matter if you have a closed internet, you are still exposed to risk. Another example, Edward Snowden. I'm pretty sure you all heard about this name. Again, I really don't care if you think he done good or bad to the world, but just think you were his manager and one of your employees getting the company secrets out and sharing it with the world. How happy would you be? Or how happy would your CEO be? Of course, not too happy, right? So, as the frequency and impacts of cybersecurity is increasing, managing security is also getting a bit tough as well, because you have to be more aggressive and you have to know what the hackers do. An example, Microsoft. We receive more than 6.5 trillion signals every single day, and yet we are still able to detect even a single attack to a small company in Germany. I'm not saying that we are the only ones. I'm pretty sure there are some other organizations, they do something similar, but I can proudly speak about Microsoft because currently I'm representing also Microsoft. So the business is transforming, right? But is your cybersecurity transforming with your business as well? Are you aware what you're doing? How good is your cybersecurity strategy? How good or future-proof is your cybersecurity strategy? Did you identify your key challenges? As I mentioned a few minutes ago, do you have a framework? This could be ISO, this could be ITIL, this could be COBOT, you name it. Did you coordinate these actions to address the challenges? And are you keeping an eye on it? I talked about ISO. In ISO, there is what we call PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act. You have to plan, you have to do what you planned, you have to check what you did, and you have to act and keep an eye, monitor it, and see what's happening, what's changing. and be always ready. How, before I go to some real case studies, I want to talk about social engineering one more time. I get this question a lot. Erdal, why are we exposed to social engineering attack? Or Dr. Ozkaya, you can call me Erdal, no problem. And I say, I'm pretty sure you all heard about Adam and Eve. Hold on, Adam and Eve? Yes, I'm talking about Adam and Eve. I mean, every religion which has a book, or most of the religions, I know Buddhism doesn't have it, for example. They believe in heaven, hell, Again, I'm not trying to expose you to any religions, please, just an example, but you all know the story. Adam and Eve, they were in heaven. They had everything. Like today, most of the human in the world, they're in this world, they're trying to be good, and they believe they're going to get a reward in the other side. When they die, they're going to go to heaven. Or if they do bad, they're going to be punished and they go to hell. Now, back to my example. Adam and Eve, they were in heaven. You know what happened? That apple tree example? The devil came and asked Eve, hey, Eve, you know what? This apple is beautiful. You should try it. I mean, the religion is calling it devil, but I want to call it social engineer. Adam and Eve were social engineered in the heaven. Again, who is Adam and Eve? Based on the mythology or based on the religions, you name it. They are the first human. And here's my point. If the first human gets social engineered, who are we not to be able to get social engineered? It's in our DNA. 2, what else can you do? I mean, first, remember my 3 challenges? It was the human. To have a proper cybersecurity strategy, you have to understand the human. And with that, no matter what you do, human is going to be exposed for risks. 2, you have to understand history. Yes, I'm talking about history. I give you an example from Chen Chu. 2,500 years ago from today. But I want to give another example. Look, from Europe. I'm pretty sure you all heard the name Napoleon. The guy who said money, money, money. But no, I'm not going to talk about money, money, money. Napoleon, he was quite strong in Europe. He started to avoid Europe. He said, hey, you know what? Let me go to Russia. What happened? It was winter. He lost the war. 300 years ago, thanks God, Hitler done the same mistake. He was quite strong in Europe. Then somehow he get involved with Russia. He didn't read the history well. He lost. I'm not saying Russia is strong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to give any political messages. I'm all talking about just cybersecurity. Then the Ottoman Empire. I mean, we Australians, we know the Anzac Parade, especially someone like me who was born from Turkish parents in Germany and who's a proud Australian. I'm proud of the Anzac Parade in Gallipoli as well. But what happened there? I mean, I'm not going to talk about Gallipoli, but Ottoman Empire were together with Germany in the First World War, and they attacked Russia in winter. They lost 100,000 soldiers without even reaching Russia. This is not because Russia was strong. This is because they didn't know the attacking ground. Remember Senchu? They didn't read Senchu. They didn't read what happened to Napoleon. They didn't read what happened to Hitler. They didn't learn about the enemies. They didn't learn about themselves. As a result, they lost the war. Now, why did I give you history example? The same thing applies to IT. Like, I visit lots of banks, for example. There are still some banks who never heard about Carbonac. I'm going to talk about this right now. If you don't know what's happening in the cyberspace, if you don't know what viruses, what attack vectors are appearing, how are you going to talk about defending? If you don't know, how are you going to defend? Defend against who? Against what? And 3, number 1 was you have to understand human. Number 2, you have to understand history. Number 3, you have to understand the technology itself, of course. I gave you the car example in the beginning of my webinar. Doesn't matter how good your car is. It might have 500 airbags. If you don't buckle up yourself, and in case of accident, you might fly out of the window. The airbag is not going to save you. The airbag is going to only save you to to hit the hard surface but softer. It's not going to hold you from flying out. So what I'm trying to say is we should learn these three things to be able to defend. And here are a couple of examples for you. This is an anatomy of real attack. We in Microsoft call it Strontium. It's real, happened real. What happened is the delivery method. It's still the same. I mean, I got PhD in this. I spent lots of time. I got masters in cybersecurity, and today I can tell you as a researcher, or as Microsoft, or as an IT professional, that most of the attacks are still happening via phishing. This could be malicious attachment, malicious website. Then what happens? The victim or the employee opens that email. We still have people clicking on links. Based on Verizon, there is 100, an average 100 emails sent per hour as spam, as phishing attack. And unfortunately, 6 of them are opened within the first hour. Can you imagine, out of 100 phishing attacks, 6 of them are opened within the first hour. What happens is, as a result, the organizations are getting exploited. The threat actor presents the malware. They gain access to credentials. Then they start to control that computer, that environment. Then they do what they want to do. Maybe they put ransomware, they ask for money. Or like a non-petty example, they're not after anything, they just destroy. What happened is the business disruption, loss of productivity, data theft, espionage, or ransom. When we look at the cybersecurity attack kill chain, which I try to draw it in here, this is still a big issue. Here's another example. What happened to a government employee? As you can see, there was a diplomatic organization and government targets. What happened that they received an email. And if you look at that email, you see the highlight. There's a beautiful URL. Guess what happened? The victim clicked in the URL. As soon as they clicked the URL, at the background, it launched the code. But what the victim saw is it went to the real website. But what happened in the background, there was a maybe flash zero-day dependent website which run on the computer, or like in this example, the Java was enabled, the script run some codes, which was looking like from NATO, which was not, unfortunately. And if you look at the timestamp, they went to this website, the kernel was exploited, then the backdoor was installed, the file name was OD server.dll. Again, I'm not here to talk about the technical details, but we can do that hopefully in one of my upcoming, I don't have to be one of the hacking classes that you're going to track to your master, for example. And as a result, the organization was hacked. When we look at the anatomy of the hack, the entry point, as I said, was the email. Then there was the device was hacked and it was connected to the command and control center. From that, they expanded in the network. From that, end game. I always give this example. If we are in the same room, doesn't matter how clean you are. If you are not bald and I have mites, my mite is most probably going to infect you as well. So, but I'm clean. I'm getting into shower every 5 hours. Doesn't matter. Mites most of the time, they will not get away with showers. You have to take the extra extreme condition, like maybe cutting your hairs or getting the anti-mite shampoos as well. you know, the email, land on exploit page, exploit runs, then redirect in the legitimate website, boom. What else? Panama Papers. This is from the Neves. Actually, I talked about that in my latest book as well. Panama Papers, I'm pretty sure you all heard, in 2015, an offshore law firm called Mossack Fonseca lost 11.5 million documents. Like, who cares? I'm pretty sure we have some of you never heard about this company. To be honest, when I remember in 2015 when I looked, I said, who cares about Mossack Fonseca? What is that? When I looked, I noticed that there was many confidential financial information leaked as well, which was from leaders, from several national leaders, politicians, industry leaders as well. Can you imagine your country's PM, as example, has you know, offshore money account in this country, and this was leaked. Another case study. Remember, I said I'm going to talk about it a few minutes later. Carbonac. Unfortunately, today I still go to some banks, and those banks, they never heard about Carbonac. What is Carbonac? Carbonac is a virus, to be honest, which was discovered by Kaspersky, which you know, hit 100 banks, and as a result, $1 billion. I repeat, $1 billion was stolen. This is physical money, by the way, okay? Like when I say $1 billion, I'm pretty sure most of you say, like, what is $1 billion? It's a big number, which we can, I mean, I can never ever imagine it. But this one is telling you what it is. $1 billion is heavier than 1 ton weight. What happened is the attack started with a phishing attack. The bank employees click in the URL. Once they clicked on it, you know, the hackers, when they hacked, they didn't do anything. They just wait. They learned how the banks operate. They learned how the money is being transferred. They learned the fraud detection systems. They learned when and which ATM has the biggest money. Then they started to transfer money within the bank accounts, and as they were fully controlling the bank through the keyloggers, they were recording every single step. That's why there is a beautiful famous saying in the hacking community which says, the more silent you are, the more you hear. So if you want to listen to an interesting conversation, you might have to be quiet. And this is exactly what the hackers did. Okay, then how did they steal $1 billion? 1 ton weight of money. Of course, bank transfers from accounts to accounts, from you know, by using different tactics, from this account to that account, smaller amounts that the fraud detection system is not going to detect it. Then transfer the money to ATMs, get the money out from the ATMs. Or, you know, what they did is they infected via simple attachment, and as a result, they were controlling the whole bank and stealing $1 billion. I have more case studies. You can, you know, you can definitely, this is our latest book with Milad Astana, where you can read the book. Again, I'm not here to promote the books, but the books might help you if you're really interested to learn more.
I am.
I know. Yep.
I am. That's the one that you're giving away, isn't it?
Yes, that's the one that I'm giving away. So don't forget to tweet. Remember, I can see already a few of you have tweeted. So I got Twitter open in front of me, like Mel here. If you want to win the book, please make sure you tag me, you tag IT Masters, if you want Charles Sturt University, and tweet about it. Promise.
I'll post all the links in the chat so people can see.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also, there's been a lot of love for the $1 billion. lot of Dr. Evil stuff in the chat, so that's really nice.
Okay, should I take some questions about it now, or should I continue and do that at the end altogether?
We'll keep going. We've only got a couple so far, so feel free to add some in, folks.
So please don't forget, at the moment in front of me, I got Twitter open. Please tweet so you can win, okay? All right, so you can just read this later. So back to disrupting the common attack playbook. So remember I was talking about cybersecurity attack kill chain? There was a delivery, there was the exploitation, installation, command and control, and actions. And of course, being a Microsoft employee, you might ask me, how can Microsoft help? Microsoft has built many different products and services. Like just using Windows 10 will make you part of Cyber Defense Operations Center, because we learn what's happening in the wild and we ensure that Windows 10 is attack proof against us. What we do is we build device guard, we build credential guard, we build Defender ATP. This is not free, by the way. You have to pay a little bit extra if you're an enterprise or education customer. But again, I'm not here to talk about products, but Microsoft is doing many other stuff to protect you. And we have some professional services as well. But please, look, I was talking about Privileged Access Workstation. You can go to MSDN or TechNet, you can download the documents how to do that. Or if you want, you can connect, if you are an enterprise, you can connect through your Microsoft, through your Microsoft Professional 10 and get a professional to do this for you. But again, I'm not talking about Microsoft or Microsoft products, but before you ask, I had to talk about this. Microsoft has lots of features to help you to be more secure. But what can you do as a security professional? You might be working for Amazon, and you're more than welcome to listen to this webinar. Security has 3 legs: data, identity, and device. They have to be, all oriented, because if one of them is less secure, if one of them gets broken, you cannot sit in this chair anymore. So an example is an unpatched vulnerability in a popular mobile device showed us that biometrics aren't enough to prevent compromise of all the data of identity, right? Or, Google recently took down many fake WhatsApps. The logo was same, the name was appearing the same, but it was not published by Facebook Inc. or WhatsApp Inc., whatever, they're owned in the same company. It was published by Erdal Inc. I'm just making the name up. And it was a social engineering attack where people, they don't know, they just press the button, they download it, and they were downloading the wrong software. They were downloading malware, and that malware was sending information as soon as the mobile phone started to move, not while it's in standby. Now, when I say mobile phone, most of the mobile phones today are connected to the internet. What does this mean? Your data is leaking out. So you should balance your data, your identity, and your device health. Otherwise, you are going to get exposed. So what else can you do? If you implement multi-factor authentication, and look, I wish I could show you. When I'm using an iPhone. Just before that, I got iPhone XS Max. But just before that, I was using Samsung S8 Plus. I have a beautiful app called Authenticator. And I don't want to open the camera, but as soon as I click my Authenticator, of course, I have my Microsoft IT account, but I have my personal accounts as well, such as my Outlook email address, such as my Facebook, my Twitter. So if you try now to hack my Twitter account, try to change my password, it is going to ask you that 6-digit. So having multi-factor authentication is going to make the hacker's job harder. Remember, there is no way to stop a hacker. All that we can do is make their job harder. Remember, there is no 100% security. Security as necessary should be your strategy. Please update your computers. The more you stay away from updates, the more you are exposed. Look, I'm not talking about future updates. I really don't care if your latest Windows or your latest Photoshop or your latest WhatsApp has that direct chat for example, in WhatsApp, you can create groups. In that groups, you can have members. And now within the group, people can just chat to each other. I really don't care if you have this feature with the latest update, but I really do care if your update if you don't update your computers when it comes to security flaws. Please ensure you update your computers for security flaws. Please increase your user awareness. Remember, users are the first attack vector. Users are the easiest point of getting into an organization. Please keep an eye, monitor devices. BORD is great, but know what they have. And for system access, ensure you have least privileges. This is the first actions which I would, or Microsoft would recommend. Then let's talk about Gartner. Gartner is an independent research firm. And when you look at Gartner top 10 security projects, based on the vice president, he says actually, focus on projects that reduce the most amount of risk and have the largest business impact. This can be our strategy, right? Focus on projects which will reduce our risk and will increase our, our business impact. I like it. So what can we do for this? And when you look at Gartner, it's going to be, their recommendation is going to be similar to my recommendations as Microsoft employee, as cybersecurity researcher, as author, as speaker, you name it. Please, PAM, the privileged account management, please make it harder for attackers to access privileged accounts. And it should allow only security teams to monitor behaviors for unusual access. For example, your PAM solution should have impossible login. At the moment, like I tried to connect to this Zoom software that you're connected with. And before nobody connected, I had no issues. I was able to connect in our test call with Guy and Neil. Then 5 minutes before, something happened. I couldn't connect anymore. I had to turn on my VPN to get that stability. And in that 1 minute, while I was in Dubai, I set up my VPN to Sydney because, this is hosted from Sydney, from Australia. There was Australia, I selected Sydney from Australia to be closer to you virtually at least. And I think my internet's much better compared to the last 5 minutes before the call. And can you imagine, I was a hacker. Actually, I steal the username password from Erdal Ozkaya, who's in Dubai. And 2 minutes later, I'm trying to connect from Sydney to his resources. So it's impossible for me to be in Sydney in 2 minutes, correct? Unless I use VPN. And you can have a monitoring solution which knows the difference between connecting with the VPN or non-VPN. So your critical access should not allow me to log in within 2 minutes from Dubai and then Sydney, because it will take 16 hours to fly with Qantas Airlines or Emirates Airlines or you name it from Dubai to Sydney. So remember, cybersecurity is the first priority, and the first priority for cybersecurity should be PAM, the privileged account management. 2, CARTA. What is CARTA? The continuous adaptive risk and trust assessment, which is inspired by vulnerability management, should be implemented. So you should run a runtime against threat, something which will protect against threats, which will protect you against impossible access. You should build and deployment the ecosystem with partners. You cannot do everything yourself. You can use Microsoft, you can use McAfee, you can use Symantec, you name it, but use the best of each. And plan, an adaptive security governance and plan, which will help you to be in the right place. And evaluating new vendors can help you to be there maybe faster. Don't forget, you cannot do everything yourself, right? You should have an active anti-phishing. You should, because most of the attacks are still happening via phishing. You should have application control on server workloads. You should have microsegmentation on flow visibility. I mean, if you look at Microsoft Infrastructure as Service, we have it. I'm pretty sure the other cloud providers, they have something similar as well, but it's really important to have the segmentation, especially when it comes to critical data. You should implement defense in depth. And you should be able to, we say protect, detect, response. To be able to protect to be able to protect something, you have to know your asset. Let's say your asset is your mobile phone in a dark street, which crime rate is quite high. When you walk tweeting in that street at 1 a.m. in the morning, and the crime rate is high, or will you put in your pocket and try to walk fast? Of course, you will put your phone in your pocket and try to walk fast, right? Because to protect your phone, you have to be able to focus who's trying to steal your phone, and then maybe you have to respond, either run away or you name it. So protect, detect, response is important. You should have proper endpoint protection. You should have proper user and entry behavior analytics, and deception, of course. If you're using the cloud, and we're all using the cloud, for example, your Hotmail email address or Outlook.com email address, or your Xbox, or your Skype, or your WhatsApp call, it's all in the cloud, right? You don't own any of this infrastructure. You use it for free. Should have a posture management. You should have, as much as possible, automated and orchestrated security scanning, which we call DevOps. Your cloud access security broker should, working fine, and you should control everything. You should have a software-defined perimeter. Again, I'm not talking about the details very much, but I want you to understand that you cannot defeat the threats of the present with the tools from the past. What I'm trying to say is security is not easy as it sounds. Having more products is not going to help you to be more secure. But you have to detect. You have to be able to detect. And this is, for example, email-based phishing attacks. There are many solutions where, your solution should look into the planning, attack, and compromise, and data loss should look in every aspect. And there are some solutions like KeepNet who can do that, or Office 365 who can do that. So, we can talk days and days about the cybersecurity landscape, but I just wanted to give you some highlights before I go to my journey to my doctorate. So, do we have any questions so far?
Yeah, we do. We've got 3 questions. It might be a nice place to stop for them. Matthew has asked how the Internet of Things impacts, I guess, what you've been talking about. Now that we're, as you say, we're more attached to the net, and more things are attached to the net. Are there implications for things like, I don't know, a fridge?
The best thing, by the way, as you can see, I'm followed on Twitter. Thank you, Mary, Paul, Ben. I'm going to follow them, and don't forget to hashtag as well. So, Internet of Things. Remember, in the very beginning, actually, I talked about that. I said people are connecting everything, even the pens, to the internet. Like, I still don't know why your fridge should be connected to the internet. I saw ransomware in a washing machine.
What? What does that even look like? What does that look like?
I'll send you a screenshot later.
Okay. Dirty washing. I don't know.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, that big DDoS attack in Internet of the Things, where people keep connecting, but they forget one little thing. They never change the default username passwords. As a result, they were getting exposed. Internet of the Things is today getting big, and lots of universities have started to do even more in-depth research on that. And lots of companies such as Microsoft has now divisions for IoT as well. Regardless if it's an IoT or any kind of other connected device, we should take care of it as it's a critical infrastructure, because this could be an entry point for your organization. So DDoS, what was a DDoS attack? For the folks, they are from Sydney, it's like Parramatta Road during business hours, or from Melbourne, it's like peak hours. There's much more car in the street than the street can handle. As a result, there's a traffic jam. As a result, you cannot go home within 10 minutes as usual. It's gonna take you 1.5 hours. This is what a DDoS attack is. Legitimate people trying to connect to your website, but the website is not accessible. Legitimate people trying to connect to an ATM to get some money out, but because of the road, the services is, the CIA that we talk about in security, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And the availability is not there where it allows you to connect. So yes, you have to care about IoT as well. Does this answer the question?
Yeah, but and then it leads to Jeremy's question nicely. So how does the challenge current models and practices? How do you protect a fleet of thousands?
I mean, the same way. I mean, honestly, when you come here, where was that slide? Maybe you will not be able MFA, but you have to have segmentation. You have to have, you have to take care of the basics, such as changing passwords, making user aware, monitor the devices. It really doesn't matter what it is. Maybe multi-factor authentication at the moment. I think I'm really not sure about that, even with Windows 10 for IoT. I'm not about sure MFA in IoT, but regular updates, increasing user awareness, monitor devices, they're all applying to the IoT environment as well. We cannot separate them. They're two brothers or two twins. We cannot separate them, in my opinion. So you have to take the same steps. Maybe with IoT, you will not be able to have, let's say, antivirus, but you can build secure IoT with limited capabilities, and you can, once you know what IoT does. For example, your IoT device communicates with your network on port 60. You can, create a SYN rule, for example, for port 60 to monitor what's happening in port 60 and get insights of what's happening there, which will help you to be a step more secure.
Okay. Ben's asked on SIM rules, whether you have an opinion regarding organizations who change their critical asset list every sort of 3 or 6 months. He's seen several occasions where organizations abandon SIM and detection on assets that were classified as critical 6 months ago, but of course these can be hacked later.
Okay, this is a tough question. Okay, this is a really tough question because an organization should not change their critical assets every 3 to 6 months, right? I mean, it will take, the planning should take 3 to 6 months before you implement that critical asset. I mean, if there is such an organization, then what I would suggest is, remember I was talking about defense in depth. Implement layers of different security where regardless what asset change inside, I mean, asset, a human can be an asset. If you have a CISO which change every 6 months, you're in trouble because every different person might have different defense thinking, which is, you should not change your strategy. Just think about a sports team. Can you change the players every 6 months? Yes, you might fire the coach and get a new coach twice a year, but usually only the coach changes, not the players. Same with companies. This is not the best practice, and I wouldn't recommend. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood the question, or that's why I'm not going to be able to answer it right. But based on my understanding, how can we? The question was, how can we protect companies? They change the assets, critical assets every 3 to 6 months. Thinking of service, thinking of security, I cannot think which changes every 6 months. That's why the only thing which I can think is like you get an employee, you hire them, you do handover, they learn the environment. After 6 months, you find out he's not or she's not the right one. You replace him with a new one, and this might happen 3 times in a row. But if you don't have a B plan, this is already bad practice. That's why cybersecurity should have a strategy, as we spoke earlier, which will help you to be more secure. I hope I was able to answer the question. If not, please rephrase. That's what I understood, at least.
Yeah, Ben sent in a couple of maybe little clarifications. It's the politics of organizations, not so much, I guess, how to help out.
With the politics, yes, correct. I mean, I saw this in the governments a lot. Yes, now it makes more sense. Like, you go to a government organization, and let's say there was an election, and I mean, I saw this happen, okay? It doesn't happen in mature countries like Australia, but, being in Middle East Africa, you visit many different countries, and sometimes political election means changing your key assets and maybe throwing millions of dollars away to get a new software solution. Or I see this, yes, something else came to my mind. Think about a big organization which has 2 different software units, IT units. Unit A hates Unit B. They think they are separate. They have a different software budget, security budget, where they use to protect their division, where the other one, they have some relation with the seller, or they like the product without even talking, what we call shadow IT, basically. Buying software without thinking if it's good for the rest of the organization, as we call shadow IT, might cause some issues. For this kinds of organizations, there should be, the best thing which I can recommend is have a proper strategy and try to stick to this strategy. And keep in mind, this is Steve Jobs. I hope he will rest in peace. He has a beautiful saying: in an organization who has politics, the organization who have politics are built to lose all the time. Only organizations they have proper strategy will survive. He said it true for his innovations, of course, but I'm taking this phrase and putting it in cybersecurity. An organization who has lots of politics and not proper cybersecurity strategy is most probably, as James Comey said, one of the organizations who's been hacked and they don't know about it yet. Can I get the next question, please?
Okay, so I reckon maybe we move on to maybe your journey on the DIT. If there's more questions later on, we'll
okay. I know like this question was a bit interesting. To be honest, it was a good question, but I think that's the best way which I can answer it, because this is the best thing what an organization can do, or this is the worst thing what organizations should do. You know what I mean? They should not. But I know it's easy for me to talk, and that's why the user awareness, it's really, really important. When I say user, this includes the C-level as well, of course. So my journey to my doctorate, as you read in Martin Hale's email, let me tell you my journey. You noticed by now, I was born and grew up in Germany. I was studying in Germany. One day I met a beautiful woman. I asked her to be my wife. She couldn't speak German. I could speak English. Plus, when I came to Australia to visit Australia, I fell in love with Australia. I saw a yellow thing, which is called the sun, which we learned in high school and in school that, it's there for heating. If you are from Europe, you know what I mean. You will not see the sun too much around PE, and I fell in love in Australia. And after I finished my first university, by the way, I was graduated from my first university was, I'm a teacher, literature teacher, German Turkish literature teacher. I was supposed to be a teacher, and my minor was IT. I was learning IT just for hobby. I moved to Australia, year 2000. Remember, I told you I I was doing some IT as well, I noticed that teaching German in Australia is not going to take me anywhere, or Turkish. I thought to change my career path. I went to TAFE. For the people, they are not, for the attendees, they are not from Australia. TAFE is like a college where you can, it's owned by the government, where you can go get some officials got it. I mean, it's a college. You go 2 years, and I graduated from network engineering. After that, I done my university link, and I graduated from Western Sydney University, and I finished my Bachelor of IT. In the meantime, I started to work in many different organizations, doing volunteer job, by the way, to gain experience. Then, in Germany, I was, working in a computer shop as well. I started to sell computers. I started to do, implementation services. I opened my own business called CUIT Training and Solutions, which, within 5 years, I grew the business to be a multi-million-dollar company. But in the meantime, we started to go to exhibitions, and those exhibitions, such as Microsoft TechEd, or you name it, big conferences, I met someone called Martin Hale, or Neil, who's the legendary Neil. Actually, he's the one who put me through all this. If I'm wearing this hat, Neil, I know you're on the call. This is because of you, as I said in my graduation speech, right? He always tried to convince me, Erdal, you have to come and do masters. I'm like, why? Look, I'm teaching already hacking classes for EC Council. I'm writing books for EC Council. So why should I do masters? What is the benefit to me? Anyway, I'm glad I listened to Neil, and I started my master's degree.
He's very persuasive, isn't he?
He is. It didn't happen over a day. Okay, it took him over conferences. Like, again, it was not just a student or client relation. Neil wanted to help. I'm like, how can a master help me? Back then I had my own business. Then I sold my business to Fastline, as you read in the email. From Fastline, I joined Chem Technologies as regional director. But in the meantime, I started, to study. But hey, I was traveling a lot. Hey, I was a regional CTO in Fastline, Chief Technology Officer, then a regional director in Chem Technologies. I had no time to go to university classes. And Neil convinced me. He said, everything is online. I was saying, how can I learn online? But I did. The books were shipped to my home. The lectures were recorded. I had to do physical exams, go to exam center, and it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, if you're in Singapore, we have exam centers in Singapore. If you are in Dubai, we have exam centers in Dubai where you can go and do your exams during a master's. And this is my transcript. If you go to, as you can see, it's my name. This is what I did at Charles Sturt University via IT Masters, thanks to Neil. I started Master of Information. So I started Master of Networking System Administration. Then Neil said, hey, Erdal, you are really good in security. Why you are not moving to Masters of System Security, which makes sense. I transferred my credits. But in the meantime, as you know, I had many, I have more than 100 certifications. I'm ISO certified, EC Council certified, CIS certified, you name it. I learned that I could get university credit for those certifications. And as you can see, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 credits transferred from my industry for being in the industry and for completing the certifications. All I had to do is complete the other certifications or other courses which I didn't have. And as you can see, I started online. I mean, I had my marks. Oops, I forgot this one here. The books receipt. There was an online lecture, which I lectured as well, by the way, for IT Masters a long time. And I'm still, as now, probably in the future, we have already some plans as well. We talked in December with Neil and Martin. You're going to learn about this soon via email anyway. But it helped me to complete my master's. Then, again, Neil said, hey, Erdal, you know what? I think PhD, having a doctor is, I'm like, what is doctor title going to help me? I work for Microsoft. By then I was Microsoft, moved to Dubai. I'm like, hey, I'm Microsoft. What else can it help me? He gave me the right advice. I'm giving a summary, of course. Then I done online my doctorate. And, for the ones that are in this class, there's many different Master of Cybersecurity. You can have many different classes, as you can see. One of them is doctorate, which I'm going to talk shortly. You can just, if you have CH, CISP, or if you have Security Plus, you will get credit. And while just completing 5 other classes within 1 to 2 years, you can get Master of Cybersecurity from prestigious Sturt University, which is one of the biggest universities in the world, actually, when it comes especially for online training. And this is, can you imagine, during my time, there was not such a thing called Master of Cybersecurity. It was called Master of, you can still do Master of Information System Security, but now I wish I had that opportunity to do Master of Cybersecurity. And, again, Martin and Neil and the rest of the team, they convinced me. I started to teach for the university as well. I started to give many free IT short courses. And
we've actually got a poll on that, don't we, Erdal? We've got a poll.
Yes, we do.
Asking
Please
whether
keep asking.
I'll launch the poll.
Yes,
have you ever taken part? I'm really interested in finding out who actually came tonight, because we have a lot of short courses. And
which are free, right?
Free short courses. Yep.
What does it mean? I'm going to talk in my next slide anyway. Don't pretend.
Yeah, we run them every 2 or 3 months, and 80% of the people in here know about them. So those that don't, you can check them out on our website. For those that aren't ready or aren't interested in the paid courses, you can come along and do the short courses as well.
So from my end, I'm going to click yes, because I did it. By the way, this is the while this poll is running out, running in, this is the famous Martin Hale. I have a picture with Neil as well. Neil, can I show you a picture as well while you're giving me my beautiful Sturt University bag? I didn't put it in. And, this is the, Dr. Rafiqul Islam, Professor Irfan, and the rest of the, Sturt team. I was in Magawaga, flew all the way from Dubai, and now I'm a doctor. So for the ones they don't know about the free courses, when you go to IT Masters, just click in the free courses and you will see many free courses, and you can attend. This is one of my courses which I taught at the past. You can get your certificate, once you pass the exam, you can get certificate. And if you think I'm not continuing learning, look at this. I'm getting myself certificates as well. By the way, I never met Richard. I don't know him in person, or I don't get access to exam questions, but I'm still, being a doctor is not the end. I still love learning, and I enjoy the free courses, like the pen test course we just finished. Don't worry if you didn't join. You can still join online, and you can do backwards all the exams and get those certificates. I would highly recommend you to do so. So this was my journey for doctorate. Again, I know it sounds fishy. It sounds like marketing, but I swear to God, look, I finished. Yes, I know I lecture at Sturt University, but I finished my doctorate, I finished my master's, and I'm still, it was part of my speech, by the way. I thank Neil a lot because he was the one who convinced me. And look, I'm going to tell you something. Recently, I resigned from Microsoft. Yes, today I done this webinar as Microsoft, but being a doctor helped me a lot in my current role, but I'm joining a very big bank as head of cybersecurity, as there's a new term, as head of information and cybersecurity.
Wow! And congrats.
Yes, thank you very much.
I had no idea.
To be honest, it just went official.
Cool.
We signed. I resigned from Microsoft. I still love Microsoft, as you noticed. And I love Microsoft. I honestly love Microsoft. Before I was Microsoft's employee, I was loving Microsoft as well. What I'm trying to say is, it helped me to, it's Standard Chartered Bank, by the way. It's not secret. They have more than 87,000 employees worldwide. They're in Australia, they're in Dubai, they're in South Africa, they're in London. They are everywhere in the world, or we are. And my study, my industry experience helped me to get a very prestigious job. I'm not just saying the study done it by itself, but the study, don't forget, the CV is the first entry point. I mean, the headhunters which hunt me, they looked at my LinkedIn profile, and from my LinkedIn profile, they reach out to me, and don't worry about the details, but here I am. And I'm going to be always thankful for Microsoft, but it helped me to even go higher. I mean, from being a company owner, you know, which, to be honest, I sold my company for good money. It wasn't free search, you know, it wasn't free, but I was able to, you know, write lots of books. I was able to do many other stuff. So I know we run 3 minutes over time. Even though I resigned from Microsoft, I still love our CEO, Satya Nadella, and what he says. Cybersecurity is like going to the gym. You cannot get better by watching others. You have got to get there every day and work out yourself. Like, I like to have that beautiful muscles, but you know, I go to gym, I just watch and go out. No, it's not helping me to build the muscles. Through the muscles, I have to feel the pain. Then I can gain. Cybersecurity is exactly like that. While just reading, you cannot be a cybersecurity expert. You have to put your hands into the keyboard. You have to explore. You have to, you know, get the label, such as doctor, such as master of cybersecurity. And then the rest will come. The rest will come. So we are already in the questions part. You know, thank you very much. I can see lots of good feedback in Twitter. If you still didn't tweet, please tweet, and promise the winner is gonna get a beautiful book, as I mentioned. So, as I said, regardless where you are, thank you, teşekkür ederim, shukran, dankeschön, merci, grazie. So this is the language of Sheshe was, what was thank you in Chinese? I forgot. I cannot read it either. Sheshe, I think, Sheshe, yes. You know, I thank you in every possible language. And please don't forget, like I get this a lot. I have Windows 10, am I secure? Yes, compared to Windows 7, you are secure. But if you don't use Credential Guard, if you don't use, for example, Application Guard, Windows 10 has also limited security where you can just enable the free features of Windows 10, such as Credential Guard. Remember, we talked about pass the hash, where the hacker dumps the memory passwords that try to see the hashes. If you enable Credential Guard, they're not going to be able to do that. If you don't want to pay for antivirus, Windows Defender is there. Or if you know, Windows 10 has lots of great stuff for you where you can use. Please do those and you know, use the resources to help yourself to be better. With this, I'm coming to the end. Again, this is my honest feedback. I would like to thank IT Masters, not as an you know, as a partner, for everything. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I'm telling this from deep of my heart. Thank you, Neil and IT Masters and Martin and Chantel and everybody else to convincing me to do my masters, to helping me to finish my doctorate. It helped me a lot, and I done this webinar, you know, all the way from Dubai, trying to help you as well. As you can see, I'm helping NATO against terrorism. I'm part of Springer when it comes to security and privacy in communication networks. You know, I'm trying to do my best. And I just forgot, there was one more slide here which I had to talk about. Where is it? I think I didn't save that slide. You know, dark web. You saw it here. Let me talk about it. We're writing this, you know, that dark web, which the book that we're writing at the moment, it's going to be for dark web as well. Doesn't matter if you do the masters or not, you can just still get access, hence the book of dark web when it's been released, about to be released soon. Thank you very much, IT Masters. Thank you very much, everybody who watched this course, and keep in touch.
Erdal, thank you so much. As always, your enthusiasm and generosity is so much appreciated. Just for your info, I've launched a poll, and I'll share the results now about, having heard your story, whether people are interested in further IT study, and you should all be able to see that on the screen there. A lot of people are into that, so we'll go through those results in the next few days, and we'll get in touch with people that are interested. But yeah, for those that just like you, Erdal, love the learning, come along to the short courses. I'm so glad to hear that you're happy and things are going well, Erdal. It's lovely to hear from you again. And thanks, Neil, and for everyone for attending.
Sorry, I'm going to take over.
Please.
My industry certification will get me through, or no, I've done enough. There is no enough, ladies and gentlemen. If you are in cybersecurity, unfortunately, there is no ending. It's going to always there's going to be always something after coming. So, currently, this book is getting released. Again, I know I started to talk too much about the books, but cybersecurity for beginners. And my first advice for beginners, I know the people here are not beginners, is cybersecurity is about non-stop learning. If you think you learned enough, you're going to be outdated very soon. Please, at least do the free courses and keep learning, keep updating yourself. Thank you very much.